My son stole my home. Will I lose my daughter too? That question hit me like a storm the day Micah almost sent me to the ground as he walked out with the deed to this house. I'm Lena, a 58-year-old widow, sitting in the kitchen of our family home, which my late husband Robert built. The oak table still holds his coffee mug, a ghost of his laugh lingering, while the faint scent of salt water drifts through the cracked window. He passed 6 months ago, leaving me with memories, a creaking house, and a will that's tearing us apart. The silence heavier than the fog rolling in from the sea. Micah, my 25-year-old son, stormed in yesterday. His eyes flashed with anger, his work boots scuffing the hardwood. Dad wanted me to have this place, he said, waving a paper I'd never seen, his voice rough with conviction. I stared, stunned, the room spinning as memories of his childhood, fixing bikes in the garage, clashed with this betrayal, his shadow darkening the faded rug. Robert always favored Micah, his garage business, his steady hands. While I raised him alone during Robert's long work trips, my hands raw from late-night sewing to pay the bills. Tara, my 28-year-old daughter, stood by the door. Her braided hair caught the dim light, her sketchbook tucked under her arm, a silent witness. I begged her to stay, to help me understand, my voice cracking with desperation. But she hesitated, her silence a knife in my heart, her eyes darting to Micah as if weighing her loyalty, her breath shallow with unspoken words. This house is all I have left. The walls hold our family's history, photos of Tara's first painting, Micah's graduation, now threatened by this fight, the frames tilting as if mirroring our collapse. Robert's will named me executor, but Micah claims a handwritten note gives him the property, a scrap of paper that feels like a stranger's lie. He says I hoarded Robert's love, that Tara and I neglected him, his words echoing the favoritism that split us. It's not true. I worked nights to pay for his tools, his dreams, while Tara's art went unnoticed by him, her canvases gathering dust. Favoritism broke us. Robert praised Micah's every fix, barely glancing at Tara's quiet sketches, her talent overshadowed by his brother's noise. I tried to balance it, cooking dinners to bridge the gap, the kitchen filled with the scent of burnt bread from my failed attempts, but the rift grew like a crack in the foundation. Now, Micah's rejection stings, his words, "You never cared," cut deeper than the cold Maine wind howling outside, rattling the loose shutters. I found the note in Robert's desk last night, scrawled in his shaky hand, "To Micah, my rock, this home is yours." The ink smudged as if written in haste. My chest tightened, tears welling as I traced the words, the desk's varnish peeling under my fingers, a splinter catching my skin. Was this his final wish, or a mistake made in his final days, clouded by pain? Tara's silence fuels my fear. She might side with him, leaving me alone in this echoing house, the walls closing in. The kitchen clock ticks loudly, each second a weight. I clutch the note, tears blurring the ink, the room bathed in the gray light of a stormy afternoon, rain streaking the glass like tears. Outside, the neighborhood buzzes with fall leaves skittering across lawns, families I envy, sharing warmth I've lost, their voices faint through the storm. This isn't just about a house. It's about love lost, a family fractured by a father's uneven heart. Then the phone rang, its shrill tone slicing the silence. It was Mr. Hargrove, Robert's lawyer, his voice gravelly over the line. "Lena, there's a sealed envelope in the will. Meet me tomorrow at his office. Come alone." His words held a weight I couldn't place, a promise or a threat the line crackling with static. A sealed envelope? Could it hold the truth? A twist to save me from this ruin? I hung up, staring at the note, the key to the desk drawer glinting beside it. My hands shook, the storm's rhythm matching my pulse, thunder rumbling like a warning. Micah's claim might be real, but Tara's silence hurts more. Will she abandon me too? I'll go tomorrow, driven by a mother's hope. The rain, a relentless drum against the roof. The wind howls outside, rattling the windows, mirroring my fractured heart. The rain hadn't stopped by morning, a gray curtain over Portland, Maine as I drove to Mr. Hargrove's office. My hands gripped the steering wheel, the key from Robert's desk burning in my pocket, its cold metal a reminder of what's at stake. My home, my family. A desperate mother fighting to hold on to a house my son Micah stole, wondering if my daughter Tara will slip away too. The wipers slashing through the downpour like my fractured thoughts. The lawyer's office sat in a brick building downtown, its windows fogged with damp ivy clinging to the walls like forgotten memories. Mr. Hargrove, a wiry man with silver hair and deep-set eyes, greeted me with a nod, his desk cluttered with files and a flickering lamp casting shadows. "Lena, I've dreaded this day," he said, his voice low, sliding a sealed envelope across the wood, its wax seal cracked but intact, the scent of old paper filling the air. My heart pounded. Robert's handwriting stared back, the same shaky scrawl as the note Micah waved, a ghost of his final days. I tore it open, the paper crackling like dry leaves. Inside was a letter dated a week before Robert's death. "To my family," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. This home was meant for Lena, my rock, but Micah needs it more. His business is failing and I couldn't let him fall." My breath caught, tears stinging my eyes, the words blurring as I remembered Micah's late-night calls about debts. Favoritism again. Robert's love for Micah blinded him, leaving me to pick up the pieces of a family he'd unevenly shaped. Tara shifted in her chair beside me, her presence a surprise, her rain-soaked coat dripping onto the floor. She'd followed me, her sketchbook gone, her face tight with a mix of anger and hurt, her fingers twisting a loose thread. "Dad told me about this," she whispered. "But I didn't think he'd do it. Leave you like this." Her voice trembled, a crack in her usual strength, and I reached for her hand, but she pulled away, her rejection a fresh wound, her gaze fixed on the letter. Mr. Hargrove cleared his throat, adjusting his glasses. "There's more. The will has a codicil, unopened until now. It changes everything," he said, his tone heavy with caution. He handed me another envelope, its seal unbroken, the paper yellowed with age, the air thick with tension as rain tapped the window pane. I stared at it, my mind racing with hope and dread. Micah's claim might stand, but this could shift the balance. Did Robert have second thoughts in his final hours, a flicker of fairness? I thought of last night, the storm raging as I sat alone in the kitchen. The house creaked, each sound a memory. Micah hammering in the garage, Tara painting in the sunroom, the hum of Robert's radio. Now it's silent, the walls closing in, the clock's tick a relentless judge. Robert's favoritism tore us apart. He poured money into Micah's business, ignoring Tara's pleas for art school, leaving me to mediate their fights over burnt dinners and spilled paint. Tara's silence broke, her voice soft but firm. "Mom, I didn't want this. Micah pressured me to stay quiet, said you'd never understand his struggles," she admitted, her eyes wet with unshed tears. I wanted to hug her, to mend the crack, but doubt lingered. Would she truly stand by me, or was this a moment's guilt? Her hand brushed mine, a hesitant olive branch, the warmth fleeting. Mr. Hargrove opened the codicil, his hand steady despite the storm outside. "This overrides the note if contested," he said, reading aloud. "The house goes to Lena, with a trust for Micah and Tara, equal shares to be managed by Lena until they prove stability." Relief flooded me, a wave crashing against the fear, but then doubt crept in. Micah wouldn't accept this. He'd fight, his pride wounded, and Tara's loyalty hung in the balance, her breath shallow beside me. The room grew quiet, the rain a soft drum against the glass. I clutched the codicil, its words a lifeline, the paper crinkling under my fingers. But as I looked at Tara, a shadow moved outside the window, a figure tall like Micah, his coat dark against the gray, watching us with intent. My stomach dropped, my pulse quickening. Was he here to take more, to demand his share, or to beg forgiveness before the storm swallowed us all? The figure outside the window was Micah. I knew it the moment I stepped into the rain. My heart pounded as I pushed open the office door, the cold Maine air biting my skin, raindrops clinging to my coat like tears, Tara trailing behind with a hesitant step. I fear my daughter's loyalty might fade too, the wipers slashing through the downpour like my fractured thoughts, the road slick with uncertainty. Micah stood under a street lamp, his coat soaked, his face hard, the light casting shadows across his furrowed brow. "Mom, we need to talk," he said, his voice low, the paper with Robert's note crumpling in his fist, his knuckles white with tension. Tara froze, her breath visible in the chill, her eyes darting between us like a trapped bird, her rain-streaked face reflecting the street lamp's glow. The air smelled of wet asphalt and regret, thickening with each passing second. I faced him, the codicil burning in my bag, its edges digging into my side. "You took my home, Micah," I said, my voice shaking, "and now you abandon me, leaving me to face this storm alone." He clenched his jaw, water dripping from his hair, and muttered, "Dad promised me this. His business is gone, and I need something to survive." His words a bitter echo of Robert's favoritism that always shadowed Tara's quiet dreams. His boots shifted in the puddle, a restless energy simmering beneath his anger. Tara stepped forward, her voice cutting through the rain, her coat flapping in the wind. "Micah, this isn't right. Mom deserves this house," she said, her tone firm but trembling, her hands balled at her sides, nails digging into her palms. Micah glared at her, his brotherly bond fraying, and snapped, "You always sided with her. Dad saw my worth, not yours, Tara. Your art meant nothing to him," his voice rising over the storm's rumble. The air grew heavy, the street lamp flickering like our fractured family, its light dimming with each harsh word. Mr. Hargrove joined us, his umbrella useless against the downpour, water streaming down his silver hair. "The codicil stands," he said, holding the paper aloft, its ink smudging slightly. "Lena gets the house with a trust for you both." Micah's face darkened, his fists tightening, and he growled, "I'll contest it. Dad's note is law, and I won't let you take this from me," his threat hanging like a thunderclap. Tara gasped, stepping back, her loyalty teetering on the edge, her breath shallow as she clutched her coat tighter. We stood in the rain, the sound a relentless drum against the pavement. I wanted to reach for Micah, to pull him back from this anger, but his eyes held a stranger's resolve, cold and unyielding. Tara's silence grew, her sketchbook a shield against the cold. And I wondered if she'd choose him over me, her mother who'd stitched her dresses and dried her tears, the memory of those nights flooding back. The street emptied, the storm swallowing the last of the daylight, shadows stretching long across the wet ground. Micah turned, his boots splashing through puddles, and called over his shoulder, "I'll see you in court, Mom." His threat hanging like a storm cloud, the codicil's promise suddenly fragile in my damp hands. Tara whispered, "I'll stay with you," but her voice wavered, her hand brushing mine, then falling away, the touch as fleeting as hope. I clutched the codicil, the paper sodden but legible, its words a lifeline against the chill. The trust for Micah and Tara felt like a chance to rebuild, but his rejection loomed large, a shadow over my heart. Mr. Hargrove patted my shoulder, his voice soft. "There's another document, locked in Robert's safe. We'll need the key." His words a beacon in the gloom. My pocket grew warm, the brass key a silent promise, its edges rough against my fingers. The rain eased, revealing a sliver of moon, its light frail against the clouds. I looked at Tara, her face a mix of resolve and doubt, and felt a flicker of hope, her presence a fragile thread. But as we turned toward home, a car engine growled nearby, Micah's truck, its lights piercing the fog, the rumble a warning. Was he leaving for good, or plotting his next move, his silhouette a dark promise against the night? The drive home was silent, the truck's growl fading into the fog, but its echo lingered in my mind. I clutched the codicil and key, Tara beside me, her quiet breaths the only sound in the car, the rain a soft patter against the windows. Micah's threat to see me in court hung heavy, a storm brewing beyond the windshield of our Portland, Maine night. We reached the house, its old frame creaking under the wind, the porch light flickering like a dying hope. I unlocked the door, the familiar scent of cedar and salt hitting me, Tara trailing with a wary glance. Mr. Hargrove's words about Robert's safe buzzed in my head. The key in my pocket felt alive, pulsing with secrets. I led Tara to the study, the room where Robert kept his papers, its shelves dusty with time. The safe sat in the corner, a steel box with a worn dial, its surface cold under my trembling fingers. I inserted the key, the click echoing like a heartbeat, and the door swung open, revealing a stack of envelopes and a small velvet pouch. Tara gasped, her hand brushing mine as she leaned in. "What's this?" she whispered, her voice shaky, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. I pulled out the top envelope, Robert's handwriting stark against the yellowed paper, addressed to Lena and my children. I opened it, the paper rustling like dry leaves. Inside was a letter, dated 2 days before his death. "If you're reading this, I failed you," it began. "The note for Micah was a mistake. I wrote it in pain, not clarity. The house is Lena's. The trust is fair." Relief washed over me, but guilt twisted it. Had I misjudged Robert's intent? Tara's eyes filled with tears, her hand squeezing mine. "He loved us all, Mom," she said, her voice breaking, "but Micah won't see it." I nodded, the pouch heavy in my hand, its contents a mystery yet to unfold. The trust for them both felt like a bridge, but Micah's anger could burn it down. The phone rang, shattering the moment, its shrill tone cutting through the study's stillness. It was Micah, his voice tight. "Mom, I've hired a lawyer. Court's in a week. You can't hide behind that codicil." His words were a slap, the line going dead before I could respond, leaving a void. I sank into Robert's chair, the leather creaking under me. The pouch held a locket, its gold surface engraved with our initials and a note. For Tara and Micah, my apology. Tears fell as I handed it to her, the weight of his regret sinking in. But Micah's rejection loomed, his legal move a threat to this fragile peace. Tara opened the locket, a photo of the three of us smiling inside. "He tried to fix it," she murmured, her finger tracing the image, her resolve hardening. I felt a flicker of hope, her presence a balm, but the court date cast a shadow. Would Micah's fight tear us apart? A knock came at the door, sharp and urgent. I tensed, peering through the rain-streaked glass, but saw only darkness and the sway of trees. Was it Micah, back to demand more, or someone else with news to unravel this mess? The key still felt warm, the safe secrets not yet fully told. The knock came again, sharper this time, pulling me from the study's shadows. I'm Lena, standing with Tara, the codicil in my hand, the key still warm in my pocket, the Portland, Maine night pressing against the rain-streaked windows. Micah's truck loomed outside, its lights dim, a silent threat in the fog, the air thick with anticipation. I opened the door, rain splashing my feet, the cold seeping through my shoes, and there was Micah, his face wet and weary. "Mom, I didn't mean for it to go this far," he said, his voice cracking, his hands empty of the note, his shoulders slumped under the weight of regret. Tara stepped closer, her breath steadying, her eyes searching his for truth, the porch light casting a faint glow on her face. I invited him in, the house creaking under our steps, the familiar scent of cedar and salt mingling with wet coats. "You threatened court," I said, my voice firm, holding up the codicil, its edges damp from the storm. Micah sank into a chair, his head in his hands, and muttered, "I was desperate. The business failed, and Dad's note felt like my last hope," his voice a whisper against the ticking clock. Tara sat beside him, the locket glinting in her hand, its gold catching the lamplight. "Dad left this for us," she said, opening it to show the photo. "He wanted us together, not fighting, his love etched in every line." Micah looked away, then nodded, tears mixing with rain on his cheeks, his breath hitching with emotion. The trust Robert planned felt real now, a chance to heal, the room warming with their closeness. I opened the velvet pouch further, finding a second note tucked inside, its paper creased with care. "To Lena," it read. "If Micah fights, show him this. I hid money for his business, not the house. Forgive me." The ink smudged but clear. My heart leapt. Robert's final act was fairness, a twist I hadn't seen, a weight lifting from my chest. I handed Micah the note, his eyes widening as he read, his fingers trembling. The room grew warm, the storm easing outside, the wind a gentle sigh through the cracks. "This can save your business," I said, my voice soft. "But the house stays mine, its walls holding our past." Micah nodded, his shoulders slumping, and whispered, "I'm sorry, Mom," his apology a balm to my aching heart. Tara hugged him, a fragile peace settling over us, their embrace a bridge rebuilt. The phone rang, Mr. Hargrove's voice steady over the line. "Lena, the court date's off. Micah's lawyer withdrew. The trust is yours to manage." His words a relief, the static a faint hum. Relief flooded me, but the weight of Robert's secrets lingered, a whisper in the walls, the house settling with a soft groan. We sat together, the locket on the table, its photo a reminder of better days. Micah agreed to use the hidden money, Tara promised to paint again, and I felt the house breathe with us, the floorboards creaking under our weight. But as we talked, a letter fell from the pouch, unsigned with a single line, "Watch for the next storm." Its meaning a mystery in the dim light. The night grew quiet, the moon breaking through, its silver rays touching the locket. I wondered if Robert's spirit lingered, guiding us, or if the note hinted at more family trials to come, a shadow on the horizon. Tara smiled. Micah squeezed my hand, and I knew we'd face it together, the warmth of their touch, a promise. If this story touched you, like, share, and subscribe. Comment, what family moment healed you? Where are you watching from? The whispers of our hearts go on echoing in every home.